When we made the films Metal Headbangers Journey and Global Metal, I got the chance to meet a lot of my metal heroes, from Maiden to Sabbath to Metallica and dozens of others. But the one band that I still hadn't met was Judas Priest. And so when we filmed Metal Evolution in 2010, I went to London and sat down with KK Downing and Glenn Tipton. I gotta say, it's a real treat to sit down with the guys who are arguably the most important guitar duo in the history of heavy metal.
Everyone okay? Sound? Tipton Downing, take two. Glenn, I thought start with you and go back in time. I'm curious to know, when did you first become aware of rock and roll music?
Rock and roll music? In my teens, really. But, you know, in my early days, because I'm getting on a bit, it was a lot of soul music, and, you know, initially I was into blues. I got into blues and rhythm and blues, and then it just progressed from there. There were a lot of clubs around about that time that you could go and see some great acts with great songs, people that were just expressing themselves, moving away from blues, progressing. And there was lots of little clubs, particularly in Birmingham. And I think, you know, Birmingham's renowned for having a lot of important musicians and very successful musicians. And I think that's a lot to do with it. I think there was quite a large outlet there for bands to go and play. I remember seeing the Cream. I didn't really know who they were at the time, you know. And there's lots of bands, early Fleetwood Mac, you know, Mott the Hoople, small clubs, small venues. It was great to see them really close up.
KK, for you, when did you first become aware of rock and roll? Do you remember the moment?
There was a famous DJ in the UK called John Peel who had a late night radio show, and he would play quite a lot of obscure stuff, you know. But he would play bands, all very, you know, eclectic mix of different bands. But amongst them, there was lots of blues stuff, you know, in particular bands like John Mayall's Blues Breakers and a lot of the black blues artists, you know. And then, you know, it really sort of got my interest again. You know, was the blues thing, really. And it was such a big movement in the UK, you know, and as Glenn says, in Birmingham, in particular, it was just seemed to be a fantastic place to be growing up, you know, with the music that was evolving at the time.
And at that time, what were these bands doing that were sort of taking the blues and then turning it into something more exciting?
It was a great era because everybody was taking the blues and doing whatever they wanted with it.
The great bands started to come on the scene, like the Cream. And then, of course, when the great Jimi Hendrix came over, I mean, it all kicked off big time, then took things to another level.
It was open house. You could do anything, really, and there's some great music from that era.
Was there something you were rebelling against when you were young?
I think everything, absolutely everything. It seemed like that growing up, I mean, you were always oppressed by somebody, whether it was your parents or school teachers or people in the workplace. You feel oppressed because you're not a fully grown adult member of society, for a start off. So then when you start doing that and you wear what people think are funny clothes and start to grow your hair, you literally become, then, you know, then life back then could be quite difficult, obviously, but it didn't stop you growing and evolving as the person that you really wanted to be. Yeah,
I think everybody rebels, you know, at some point in their life. The system, you know, the eight-hour-a-day job. There's a bit of rebellion in everything. I think that's why bands like the Stones are popular. There's rebellion in that, you know, in our songs. I mean, we've never advocated, you know, bad things. We've never advocated to take drugs or to be violent, only in galactical battle type of song. But the system's always there to have a go at you, you know, and we did tracks like Parental Guidance when all that was going on in the States, and you know, we've flown the flag, I think, for freedom and the free spirit, and yeah, there's rebellion in our music, I would say, but it's not an aggressive rebellion, it's just an attitude or a point of view which you can express through your music.
Where did you get the inspiration to create what is now a hallmark of what you guys do, the two-guitar approach?
It was always a case of trying to stand out a little bit, to be a little bit different, you know. Bands like the Doobie Brothers and, you know, the James Gang or whatever, and so many bands had 2, sometimes 3 guitar players, I think, you know. But that was no big influence. One band in particular was called Wishbone Hash. They had a couple of guitar players and they did a few kind of harmonies, but they were kind of more of a, you know what I mean, not heavy in any particular way, but it just seemed to be a good idea at the time to want to be like a heavier band, but the advantages of having 2 guitar players, you know, with similar capabilities, both to be able to play lead and rhythm, seemed to be something that, you know, wasn't particularly around in any abundance. We got together and started to rehearse some songs. It was great, you know, because the sound was just fuller, and the 2 guitar sound, you know, it was almost like a stereo effect on the stage. We were very excited about it.
I think we were all surprised what happened, you know, because we immediately recognised the writing capabilities. We just got a massive influx of ideas, and when we pooled our ideas, and we've said it many times, there's like a magical quality there. I don't think anybody really knew what would happen. And it just really worked out, you know.
Why do you think what you guys did with the 2-guitar approach became so influential for future
I think because
generations?
both me and Ken, there's no rules. We love heavy metal, but we also love melody, and we always believed that you can do whatever you want to do. You shouldn't be restricted by the so-called code of heavy metal. You can do what you want, and I think that gave the band a lot of inner strength, really.
Do you think that being proud and standing up for being metal was an inspiration as well for future bands?
Yeah, I think so. There was a period, wasn't there, where people were not kind of admitting that they were metal, but I think Priest we always maintained that we were proud to fly the flag of metal, and I'm proud of it.
Maybe a dash of working class ethic is part of this too when we talk about the playing and the...
Definitely. It's, you know, we're men of the Midlands and we're tough.